get it fairly balanced and figure out if your proportions are right, things like that, before you trim. First of all, you want to clean the foot really, really good with a wire brush. You want to take your hoof knife and just lightly, with the edge curled part of the knife, just make a light inscribal right along here so you can get some definition to the foot. Okay, now the first thing you want to do, you want to come back here and you want to mark the hairlines right here. Okay, you also want to get yourself a handy dandy flexible ruler that you can mark 1 1/4 inch. That's the long line. Don't pay attention to the scribbles. That's the long line there. Okay, so once you mark the hairline here, come up here to this groove, which is called the collateral groove. Make a mark with your ruler from here to here and from here to here. Then take your ruler where that you've made your 1 1/4 inch mark on, put it on the hairline there and measure up to the heel, and then mark the heel right there at 1 1/4 inch. That's so you don't get your heels too low, because I'm going to tell you right now, you know, a lot of people are just marking according to where this periopal strap is here, but this periopal strap can wear off and move up, so you don't want to just assume that your heel height is always going to be at this periopal strap. Let's see. Okay, then come up here to the apex of the frog. Okay, if it's a big frog, kind of cut it back a little. Make sure you get right on the apex right there. Measure 1 inch back to here with your ruler. Now I've marked this in a couple different places, so that's 1 inch right there. Okay, after you do that, draw a line across here. Then look at your bars. Do your bars converge with that line? Okay, so draw a mark down the top of the bar. And always remember, the bar, even though it's called bar, is really hoof wall. See? It goes up here and it travels around here. This is just the end of the hoof wall. It needs to be trimmed just like your hoof walls, or it will compact and grow up into the sole, into the inner foot of the horse, and create imbalances and heel soreness in there. Okay, now, after you've done that, take and kind of level things out, even things up, and draw yourself a line straight across the hoof. Okay, I've drawn my line straight across the hoof. Okay, now, what you want to do, you want to take this same ruler and lay it across here from side to side where you marked on each side of the hoof, and you want to mark all the way across the frog. Okay, that gives you the base of the hoof. Now, what you're going to do, okay, is you're going to measure the distance from here to here, because the distance from here to here is the distance from here to where the hoof wall starts and where your toe should be. Not to where the hoof wall ends, but to the end of the sole, about the end of the sole. Okay, if you want to do the measurement different, you have to come clear back here, because then that will give you a full length measurement. But you just got to know that the hoof wall is not, the hoof wall is not included in the measurement. Okay? Okay, so hold on. Okay, now if you can, buy these rulers. They're flexible. Cut them in half and have one for each horse, so you kind of know what measurements that specific horse is at. Now I have measured, and I didn't, if you notice this, the 12 starts a little late, so I didn't just use the exact measurement here. I just marked from the end of this ruler to here to measure from the base of her foot to the center. Give it here. Okay, so, but if you want, you can measure exact. See right there? I've got it on. Now, I'm going to take the end, I'm going to place it right there. And that tells me where about my sole should end. Not the wall, the sole. So you see her toes fairly close on, but there's still a little bit of flare or pulling forward in the toe. Not much though, her toes have come back a lot. Okay, so you do that. Okay, see how I mark that? Hope you can see, hope I'm aiming at this. It's hard to be your own cameraman. Okay, from here to here, the center of the foot is relatively the only part of the outside of the hoof capsule that stays relatively constant, as well as, you know, the bars here verging into the sole, but this can all distort too. But relatively, you are safe with these measurements here. Okay, there can be things going on inside the foot that will displace the bone and put it in a different spot, that can kind of mess you over in your trimming, but there are ways to get that figured out too, if that be the case. But generally, if bars haven't ingrown and lifted up the coffin bone inside, which will pull the toe back and put you a big old laminar wedge in the toe, if the bars aren't ingrown and all that, which this horse's bars have been ingrown a little bit, then you are safe to say that this is a good measurement from here to here, and then take that same and from here to here, and that plus adding about a little over the width of the hoof wall will give you a general idea of where you are growing your toe down to. You need to realize you're growing the foot into a good foot. You're not just trimming the foot into a good foot. You are just setting the perimeters and taking leverages off the foot to help it grow into the foot that it was meant to be. Okay, after you're done with that, now the white line is the little line that runs between the sole and the wall. Here is your hoof wall. Here's the sole. There is a little yellow, sometimes it's dirty so you can't tell, but there's a little yellow line called the white line that's really yellow that basically connects the sole to the wall. And these two materials here are different materials. They're similar but different, and the line that holds them together is different. It's softer, it's like rubber cement, it can stretch. It can also ooze out different materials. So you want to define with a pin your white line, where it's at. So I'm going to do that and come back. Basically there, I have defined and gone around the very edge of the sole, right upon or next to the white line as much as possible. Hope I'm showing that right. Just showing you her belly and talking to you drives people crazy. The next thing you want to do is trim your bars. When you're trimming these bars, look and see if there's any little ridges in here, because that means that your bars are too high, that there's too much pressure, and that there's some structural fatigue in the hoof wall, because that's all a bar is hoof wall, and it's pushing up into your foot. So, you know, if there's little ridges, like the same ridges you get on the hoof wall that they call growth lines, but in this case it's in the bar side right here. Okay, now the way you trim a bar is you get down like this with your hoof knife and you come up the bar. Now remember, the bar is just hoof wall. That's all it is. That's why it's so hard. And you come right down that bar Don't get in the sole. You can clean this out too. But first we're going to take this bar down a little bit below the sole. And so you want to stay right on the edges here. You know, once you get down in it, it'll get a little softer. Now, Molly has had ingrown bars, and I didn't get them trimmed out like I should have. See, okay, right there, I'm seeing some little lines. That means I'm finally getting down. That's where it's connecting to the sole. Let's let her rest a minute. Hey, give me your foot there, girl. So I go out every 3 or 4 days and I cut these bars down. Looks like I'm taking a lot, but as I said, she's got ingrown bars. You want to kind of define this in here? God, I hope this is getting on tape. Sorry if it's not. Okay. Kind of open that up in there. I'm going to come from where that bar starts right there. And I am taking her a little bit below the sole, right here. Now I'm going to go over here and see what's going on in this sole. Not a lot. Now, the reason I'm taking her down is because she's had heel pain because of the bars being ingrown up into the hoof. Okay, I'm going to do that other bar and I'll be back and show it to you. Quit. Okay, now I've taken them bars down quite a bit. But I don't know if you can see this, but there are lines moving that way. And what that is, I believe, could be wrong, is that's bar tubules from hoof wall horn. Because remember, bars are just hoof wall. This bar has laid over the sole and been like ground or melded into the sole. And we don't want that. You want real clearly, you want these bars to be as defined and clear as the hoof wall here. And that's not what has happened here. They have laid over and just been basically meshed in with the sole. So you can't get them out all at once, but you can pick them out. You need to get kind of serious about getting them out, folks, because they really will hurt your horse when they grow up into the hoof. Okay, you probably can't see that, but when I got down to where I seen those tubules or lines going over this way, and I decided to go ahead and just take them out. And as I started taking them out, they started disappearing because, see, they were laid over and shoved into the sole. And now do you see how that bar is starting to define itself better? Because it was just like melted into the sole here, and that's not supposed to be there. This is supposed to be clearly defined right here, just like hoof wall. You can see, I can see that right there, you can see lines going up. That's bar or horn tubule from hoof wall, where the part that isn't, that's more yellow, that's sole. Okay, so I'm going to dig some more out. I don't know if you can see, but I've taken quite a bit out, and I've even taken the bars lower than the sole.